week's episode, we're talking about how to pay a virtual assistant or a freelancer. This is a question that I get asked so many times. If I have virtual assistants, how do I pay them? Now, we have virtual assistants that are all over the US, the world. We have people all over the globe. And we try to make it easy by using one system to pay everyone. Now, there's certain different platforms that you may end up paying differently. So we're going to dive into that today and talk about a little bit of the differences. So if you've ever used Upwork, Fiverr, any of those similar programs, basically what that is it's a trust account or an escrow account if you're familiar with the home mortgage industry. Basically what happens is when you need a job done, let's say that you need to have a logo designed. So you search that up on the computer, you find someone to work with on one of those websites. You agree on a price, and then you deposit the money into the escrow account. So you have protection because you're the one approving the final project. But the freelancer or virtual assistant also has protection because they know the money is being held in a neutral third party. So as soon as the job is done, you've approved it, the money is released to them right away. So it's great for both sides of the transaction because you're both protected. Now, the one that I use is called Remitly, but I have done this through PayPal. The reason why we stopped using PayPal, we found that the exchange rate through Remitly was much better than PayPal, so we decided to go that way. But I also know people that use Western Union, MoneyGram, PayPal. There's all sorts of different services that are available to you. Just make sure that you check the fees and how quickly the exchange rate is processed, because you don't want to be sending someone money every month. You've agreed on a set amount to pay them a salary, and then because of the exchange rate, they're getting so much less. It's really hard to budget for them to know how much they're going to get paid if the exchange rate is constantly changing. What I love most about Remitly is that it's set up so it's an automatic transfer. Now, you can choose to use the option that takes a couple days for it to make its way there, but because we pay bills on the 10th and 25th, everyone knows that they're going to get their paycheck on those days. So I use the function that costs me $1.99 when I send a payment. Not a big amount of money. And what's great about it too is that the employee gets their money that very same day. Now, one question that you might be asking yourself is, hey, I thought we were talking about VAs and freelancers. I didn't realize that those people could be your employees, and it's true. Go back and listen to my previous episode where I talked about having virtual assistants and making them your employees. It is so much easier. Oh my gosh, it is the best thing when you find someone who values your business as much as you do and works their booty off to make sure that you look good. It's awesome. Now, typically when I send those paychecks, it's usually within an hour. So when I hit the button on the app, it goes directly into the employee's checking account, and it's usually there within an hour. Now, that is something, of course, that your employee or your virtual person is going to have to give you their bank account information. So that's something that you can program into the Remitly app. You do it once, it blacks it out, you never know it again. But for most folks, having that essentially direct deposit into their bank account is so much more convenient than having to go to a location at a Western Union or a MoneyGram to pick up the money. It's just safer if it goes straight into their bank account. Because the other thing to remember too is whatever holidays we celebrate in the US might not be celebrated where your virtual assistant, freelancer, or person is located in. So the banking holidays might be different. So being able to direct deposit straight into their account is just easier for everyone. Now, you could send a wire transfer from your bank to your virtual assistant or virtual person. However, there are fees associated with that as well as a lag time. And with so many different services that are now available online, ready to go for you, there's really no need to do that anymore. It is probably the most secure, but it does take the longest and might be the most expensive as well. Another option is to mail them a check. Now, this is even more outdated than sending a wire because you have to remember, mail might not always be available where you're sending the money. It depends on if the person lives in a very rural area. They may not be getting mail every week like we do here in the States. Now, this can be done using USPS or international money orders, but keep in mind that sometimes these services require that you be sending a certain amount. And let's be realistic. The reason why we're hiring freelancers, virtual assistants, virtual people, wherever they may be, is to make our lives easier. And sending things through US mail, a wire through your bank, that's not the most efficient use of your time or your virtual staff person's time either. I wanted to jump in really quick too to talk about salary ranges for virtual people. Now, you have to keep in mind that if someone is located in a different country, it may be more affordable for you to pay that person a awesome wage, but it's going to be less than you would be paying someone here in the US. One thing that I love about the company that I use, Virtual Staff Finder, you may have heard of them before. There are tons of companies that will find people to help you. It's just an incredible experience because they go through the thousands of potential freelancers that they have. They look through them all, they find out who fits your job description, and they bring some options back to you so that way you can see which person might be the best fit. Now, typically, this will include a DISC profile, an English proficiency test. You may also have the option to include some work that you want to test them on. For instance, if you have a video that needs to be edited, you'd want to send them some raw footage and have them edit it and send it back to you to make sure that they have the skills that they say they do. Because remember, if someone is just sending you the finished project, it might not be theirs. So you want to make sure that you're testing people to make sure that it's them. Now, keep in mind, salaries change all the time. So if you're listening to this episode many years from now, you want to make sure that you are doing your research to make sure that everything is up to date. Now, one thing that I do love about Virtual Staff Finder is they help you determine what that salary range is. So you can send an email over, say, hey, listen, I'm looking for someone to do this. What's a typical salary range for that person? And they will say, here's what we've got, here's what we think. So I'm going to run some numbers for you, but just keep in mind that you're not going to be able to pay someone overseas $250 a month. It's just not going to happen anymore. Let's jump into numbers. So if you're just looking for a general virtual assistant, so someone to maybe help you go through emails, just general tasks, nothing specific, you're looking anywhere for a full-time person from anywhere from $450 to $700 a month. If looking for someone to write articles, content, things like that, that goes up significantly. So if you're looking for someone full-time, that might be $500 to $700 a month. For blogs or social media, $500. Press releases, $600 to $800. Ebooks, which depends on the niche, the number of words, and the number of books, that is more expensive, between $700 to $1,000. If you're looking for an SEO specialist that's full-time, would be around $600 to $800. A web developer, full-time, would be $800 to $1,000 a month. A graphic artist full-time would be $700 to $1,000 a month. Now keep in mind, these numbers will vary, and that's why it's important to do your own research. Don't go into the situation thinking, oh, I'm only going to have to pay them $1. It's going to be awesome. It's just like anything else in this world. You get what you pay for. And if you come in and try to undercut someone's skills, you're not going to have a good experience, and you're just going to end up saying, that didn't work for me, and toss it out the window. But take it from me, I've had the experience. We've had multiple virtual assistants. It's all about clear and concise communication and making sure that they are getting paid on time every single month for the work that they do. One thing I think is important to mention when we're talking about paying virtual assistants is that you have a conversation with them about when they would like to get paid. Do they prefer weekly, bi-monthly, or monthly paycheck? The best way to start this conversation is in the very beginning, because you don't want to wait until it's time to pay someone and then there be confusion, because that can lead to hurt feelings and people feeling like they might not get paid, which of course is super frustrating. Another thing too to give some thought is, depending on what type of country you're using either a virtual assistant or a freelancer, is to double check with them if there's anything specific. Like in the Philippines, there's something called the 13th month pay. So essentially what that is a Christmas bonus to us here in the States. So essentially it's paying them a month's salary twice in December. So to us, we would most likely call it a Christmas bonus, but to them, it's 13th month pay. So you want to make sure that you're discussing with them upfront if there's any additional holidays do a quick Google search, find out if there's some norms that you're not aware of, because they are out there and you want to make sure that you are respectful of that and maintain those traditions in the countries that you are using workers in.